Liam, we're here. Just feels like an epic day. We've not spoke to you after the Volendam game. We'll get into that, but just give us your take on tonight's game. It's a very, as we just said off camera, it's not every day you have a pre-season game with 2 red cards. But what did you make of that, and what did you make of the game in general?
Yeah, it's a strange one, I think, in terms of obviously the situation with the red cards, which again brings different things. I think, in terms of us quite pleased with elements up to their red around, how we looked at our possession, how we pressed, regained high. I thought there was some really good bits I could see coming out from training, the work that the lads have done. Thought the attitude to apply themselves was excellent. Then it changes obviously with a red card, where it then becomes a bit around us with the ball and playing to our structure, which again we haven't done huge amounts on just in terms of the time we've had, but was a good opportunity to practice elements of that, which is always tough. You're playing against 10 that are camped on the edge of their box. It becomes quite a challenge, and then the second half was a really strange one.
In regards of what you getting your red card early on, or just when you say strange, I mean, did you? I don't want to get you in trouble there, but it did feel with the crowd they were getting on the refs back, and in these type of games maybe there was a bit of levelling up going on.
Yeah, some strange decisions throughout the whole day, I think, to be honest. It is what it is. Poor AJ's got it in there, I think, obviously. But he'll learn from it. It'll be better for having had a difficult experience like today. And then look, naturally we've had 3 weeks opportunity to work on the grass. So strategies for when you go down a man, and those kind of scenarios, and what we do, what's our default system. We haven't worked on any of that. So that looked a little bit at times disorganised, which is I think natural, probably where we're at. But the attitude to keep competing, to run, to fight was good.
Taking it back a step, when you go one man up, one player up, that was an opportunity because they obviously retreated deeper. I mean, it looked like you put me straight, but you sort of tactically in the build-up play, you sort of went to a free, and Harry was able to get on the ball and show his ability on the ball. So that's a good process for what might come down the line.
Definitely that. And I thought, it's just always that balance. I thought we switched it quite well, but had purpose to it. And that was the kind of the message at half-time was, naturally, the perception when the opposition lose a player is that you should easily create chances because you've got all the ball, but when you've got that many bodies in front of the goal, it becomes quite difficult. But I was quite pleased that we didn't become passive. Again, I thought we could at times probably been a little bit braver, and with duels or diagonals into the box, quality on crosses. That was there was lots of nearly moments, which again, when you're playing against an opposition that are a few weeks ahead of us. They start their season next week. It's natural that those little bits aren't quite there yet.
He didn't have a huge amount to do because of the way the game unfolded, but nice to get Vladan Kovacevic, as I'm calling him. You put me straight on that. Get him into an environment that he's comfortable with the players around him.
Yeah, and it's a big part. So it's great to see Vlad play. I think it's one of those where relationships. You look at the new faces. It's only it's the first time playing for Vlad. So him, Harry, Jose's first game back. And first time since we've been here, so I think there's lots of things that are going to take a little bit of time, but we have to try and accelerate that in terms of relationship, understanding each other's games, the communication, just the trust in each other, things like that take a little bit of time. So that's why the time out here, the games, the training time's invaluable.
A little bit of a footnote on the keepers because you brought him on for Vladan in the second half. Vincente Reyes only made 3 or 4 good saves when he was required, but we all know the situation. As a club, you've gone and made 3 senior additions in that department. How's that playing out? He's obviously here, he's obviously part of the group, but the signal there with bringing in 3 senior keepers is that maybe he's not going to get too much opportunity here.
I thought he did really well tonight, Vinny, when he came on. He made some terrific saves, but he's one that is definitely part of the plans for the future here. I think he's at that stage where he probably will need to go and get games, so that'll be a discussion with him at some point. But I think he's quite clear. His attitude's been terrific in training. Did really well tonight. So he's shown some real qualities, so he's definitely someone that for me has a good future ahead of him.
Okay, so you still feel that he can down the track be an asset for this club?
Yeah, definitely, very much so.
Okay. Because we didn't speak to you on Volendam, if I sort of roll the two together, I mean, did you get what you wanted from that exercise? Someone in very hot conditions.
Feels forever ago now. Really tough conditions. It was again, they obviously start next week as well. Tough with the heat, with the pitch dries out quickly, becomes sticky, but as a game, it was really beneficial, in terms of had a bit of everything, style-wise. They played short and built up, they went long, they slung set pieces in the box. So for us at this stage, it was a really good opportunity to put some bits in place. And again, the bit of everything, and that's probably what I expected a minute. There were some good moments, there were some not so good moments, and there were some bits that you go away going, we have to get better at. So honest with the lads, we're quite clear where we're at, and big part of it is getting minutes in the legs, which was a big positive when you look at the day.
And on that particular point as well, great to see Ben Cruzani back in. I think that's the first game since he did his ankle at Blackburn back in March. That's important for him as well moving forward.
Definitely was really pleased that he came through it. I thought he had a really solid game, to be fair. He real steady, joined in the attacks quite well. Really good to see him. Now it's a case of building him up, trying to increase consecutive training days, trying to increase match minutes, which now he's kind of got through today. I'm sure will happen.
I just wanted to ask you a bit, because it's been noticeable those first two games, the one back in England and then this morning, you've used a Mankwa Forsen, in that more progressive, maybe 10, sort of slightly off the front player. You like what you see from that player in that area of the pitch?
I thought he did well today. I thought he was really pleased. I think in terms of he's so sharp, he turns so quick. He takes pressure well and rolls out of it. I thought if you look at this morning, he had a couple of decent chances as well. The one that he lapped power on the edge, and then the header on the back post. I thought he had a real good impact on the game. So he's shown real good energy, Forsen. So we've got to keep pushing him. And we'll keep making sure that we get us in a position where he can bring his strengths. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I was going to just ask you on that. Is that area of the pitch you feel is best suited to? Because last season, his first season in England, he played a little bit all over the midfield. But do you feel he can be more effective in that area of the pitch?
I think so. It's still time for me to find that out. I think that's why days like today are invaluable. In terms of obviously we've got a game in a few weeks that the season starts, and I think today's been really good for me to kind of see what the lads can transfer from what we're asking them to into games. Do we have to move people around a little bit? I think you can do all the work you want before you come in, but until you get in with the lads and see how they transfer what you're asking them to do into games, it's a completely different thing. So yeah, we'll keep going through that process. We've got another obviously hard training week, and then we have another couple next weekend.
Ask you about, and you've used a lot of them over the course of these two games, but the young lads, the 21s, are out here as well. Mundell Smith tonight, LaShawn Seeley's had a bit of exposure in your first two games. Do you like what you see from that group? You feel there's some real ones who could put their hand up and be part of it?
Yeah, I thought the lads are great, especially this morning when they came on. I really enjoyed, so many of the moments, especially in possession. I thought there was some terrific moments, and from the lads you named as well as a few others. So I thought there was some really enjoyable moments. And I spoke to the boys afterwards and said well done. And I think most years you get one in and around it off the back of a pre-season. So I challenged them to be that one, and if they are, celebrate it, help each other get there.
Moving on, as I said before on camera, I'm going to have to ask you about a few issues around the pitch, because fans at this time of the summer, it's as much about who could be involved, who's maybe not. Josh Sargent starts today. I think it's safe to say, without putting you on the spot, we know there's interest, maybe from Germany particularly, but the fact he started today, is that indicative that there isn't as yet anything that would fast track his exit from the club?
No, nothing as I'm told now, hence he plays tonight, and attitude's been top. Can't sing his praises well enough from that perspective. So until I'm told different, we'll keep working with him. We'll keep pushing him. And as far as I'm concerned, at the minute he's still a Norwich player. So, like I said, we'll keep pushing with him. We'll keep working with him until I get told differently.
And because of that, because obviously you might look at it and you take a view, and even if there isn't an actual agreement in place, is there that risk and reward element from playing him in? Heaven forbid, he gets an injury, but that's clearly not entered your thoughts at all at this stage.
No, Sarge wants to play as well. I think that's the key bit. You see that tonight. Captain, led by example, spoke really well in the changing room. Even I forget. He's only 25 still. You kind of forget that when you speak with him, and because he's been around and done so well at the level for so long. So, like I say, he's been terrific away here, and we'll keep pushing him this week.
In terms of some of the lads who weren't involved tonight, Chris Garden. Obviously we know he only came back in rather late. He's been away with Denmark in the Euros. Is that just a case that these two games have probably come a little bit too early for him?
Yeah, just managing him back in. I think we're going to make sure we get that right. We don't want to expose him to too much too soon. So yeah, we're just reintegrating him now and pushing him along at the right rate that he needs.
McLean not involved again tonight. You said after the Northampton game there's this sort of ankle irritation, I think you called it. Any update over the past week with that?
Yeah, it's not settled, unfortunately. So he's going to go down and see the specialist starting next week. So he's been out here for a few days. It's not settling down. So he's in London starting next week to see a specialist. For us to make a definitive decision on what happens there. And
as you say, subject to the specialist, but that potentially the surgical route could be in play with that.
Possibly. We'll have to find the outcome of the meeting. Yeah, there's the potential for that. It's nothing major. It's just more of an irritation thing that, what you don't want to do is let it, drag on into the season, not deal with it, and then, you end up missing him for a longer period. So, again, it's not ideal. Kenny's obviously a little frustrated as well, given with us coming in, the changes and desperate to make an impact, which I have to say off the pitch he has. He's come out and you see the leader he is, the character he is, around the place. So we'll see. We'll reassess once he's seen the specialist starting next week.
Just a couple more who haven't been sort of involved too much. Kellen Fisher, I mean, it looked like he picked up a little, maybe hamstring or against Northampton. Is that just precautionary? He's obviously out here and part of the group, but where are we with him?
Yeah, very much that. Obviously, naturally, you push the lads quite hard pre-season. I think you have to get that base level of fitness, that foundation that sets them up for the season. He had a slight reaction. Northampton, nothing major, nothing that we're concerned about. So again, it's rather than force him, rush him, and potentially risk something bigger. It's one of those where we just managed him. He was out running yesterday, today. So yeah, hopefully we'll see him back soon.
I was just asking, is Elliot Miles actually out here? Because he was one of those, he was in the sort of Welsh squad at the start, somebody had to pull out of that. Has he been in and around the group so far?
He started. Unfortunately, he's picked up a hamstring injury, which is going to see him out for a little bit of time, which is slightly frustrating. It was quite early on, so yeah, disappointing for him, disappointing for us. Looking forward to seeing him again. Obviously, some of the bits that he's done. So we'll obviously make sure that we keep pushing him off pitch and do everything we can to get him back at a level.
Yeah, and just because obviously you feature against Northampton, no Adebayo in these 2 games today. Was there anything fitness related there? Or?
And to be fair, he's trained this week, and then when we got out, it was a little bit sore in his groin. Nothing serious. Just it's been a little apparently ongoing problem with him. So it's nothing major. It's just something we're letting settle as well.
And final one. I mean, we know you're trying to do 1 or 2 different bits of business. I don't expect you to give me chapter and verse, but how's that progressing in general? Are you getting to the point where you're hopeful?
I hope so. I'm one of those until it's signed, sealed, delivered. I don't like being presumptuous on anything. So we're working hard. Ben Lee, guys behind the scene, are doing a great job in terms of being proactive and pushing things and trying to add to what we've got already. Things are progressing, but there's definitely nothing definite at the minute.
Thanks for your time. Cheers,
Thank you.